First of all, how many of you have seen season 2? Yeah, it's amazing. So in some ways, I love looking back at season 1 and watching the evolution of Debbie.
Yeah.
And this is such a great episode because I feel like when I think about the moment where she is looking in the mirror and she's, doing her lines and her lines and her rhymes, and she won't even let herself have that moment. At one point, and she kind of like, you can see the doubt in her face. And then by the end, it's a one episode beautiful arc. And then by the end, she knows what she needs and she's going to get what she needs.
Right. Well, I think she initially had trouble, as Betty did, understanding wrestling and connecting to it. I think, she thought it was a little silly, and I had a lot of trouble understanding. I just didn't get it. I thought it was sort of embarrassing and weird. But, I grew up loving musicals, and a lot of people around me thought that was pretty embarrassing and weird. And, I think musicals and theater are all about power and vulnerability together, and standing in the center of the stage and belting out about how much you love someone. What could be more powerful and vulnerable? And standing in a tiny lycra costume, fighting for justice. What could be more powerful and vulnerable? So I saw the parallels there.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember the moment where you first heard of both the show and of this character?
Perfect. Seriously, what am I going to do? Oh, my God. It's so funny looking at the episode also because they spray tan me for this, and then I see the actual color of my thighs, and it's like a boiled manatee pup. It's so real. I'm like, oh, remember when I was just a orange, one color. Now it's like purple, the map of Ireland, the white. Okay, sorry. What was the question?
By the way, if you haven't read, Betty is also an amazing writer. I know this is a room of actors, but I also feel like there could be like a room of writers, and everyone should read your New York Times piece and even just different essays that you've written about playing this character.
Thank you.
You are such a great writer. But
thanks.
When was the time that you first you heard about this character and this show?
Yeah.
And what was that like being like, yeah, I'm gonna audition for this?
So the creators of Glow, Liz Flahive and Carly Mensch, I worked with on Nurse Jackie as well. I was in seasons 5 through 7 of Nurse Jackie, and they were both writers on the show. So they knew that I was sort of, both my parents are actors, and they did mostly theater, and they're both really character actors, especially my mom always played like the crazy Irish maid, and I was sort of raised to be a character actress or actor, whatever, who cares. And then but then puberty happened, and I sort of, for this tiny island of DNA time, am a sort of Barbie-ish looking person. It's fading quickly. But I realized that there weren't a lot of roles for clown Barbies. Like, no one wanted you to be weird or terrifying or dark or funny. They wanted you to be squinty and small and whispery and sexy, or like you either had to be like the mean woman at the beginning who's not long for the movie, or what was the question? So
I feel like in one piece you read, I think you just referred to it as just smiling boobs.
Smiling boobs,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the parts where the Barbie gets to be a clown, a gravitas clown, were few and far between. So whenever I read something where I was like, oh God, I would be able to do all the weird shit that we did in theater school, but as a Barbie, I always was like, oh fuck, I really want to get this part. But that would happen like once every couple of years, and I would not get the part.
And did you know that, and I hate to point out a job that you didn't get, but I think in a room of actors, it's so it's so good to know that sometimes the job you don't get leads to the job that you do get.
Yeah.
And that you auditioned for Piper on Orange is the New Black.
Yeah. Yep.
And did not get it, but then got this, and also produced by Genji. Genji Cohen.
I mean, that was one of I was close on Veep. I was close on Girls. I mean, a million things. You know, I've been working as an actor for almost 13 years. And so now it's so funny, people being like, where have you been? I'm like crying in my car.
Wait, y'all have cars?
When I go to LA for pilot season and rent a car, yes. Yeah, so yes, there were so many times where I would see myself on the page and be like, wow, this is it. This is me on the page. This is going to happen. And the feedback would be no. Or you know, going through rounds of tests and it being no. Or being like, no, they don't see you as this part. They're not going to audition. We're like, but I am this part. You know, it's so heartbreaking. So you know, I've said this before, but it feels like, you know, sometimes being an actor can feel like you are like an Ellis Island for clowns and ghosts. Like when you're auditioning for stuff, you let these characters pass through you and you have to be open to let them live in you while you're auditioning for them, because you know, you want to play that person truthfully and like have fun, and maybe that's the acting that you're going to get to do that month is in that audition. But it's not painful that once a person has lived in you, then when you don't get it, you have to be like, okay, bye. It was nice meeting you. And there are some people there are some parts that were really hard to let go of because I was like, oh, I really liked her. And Debbie was that way for me. I felt it was an upsetting process because I was, I guess, so sure, not even in a fatalist way, just in a realistic way, that I wasn't going to get it. Because the odds of an actor being able to do what they want to do, it's just so crazy, and has nothing to do with talent or whatever. It's just, you know, the emperor has no clothes. So yeah, I auditioned like 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah, and then got the part 3 days before my wedding. Yeah. Yes, it was insane.
That's and were Liz and Carly could they say to you like, you're doing great? Or
you know, they didn't say that to me. They play their cards very close to the chest, and you know, writers are so weird. They're my dear friends, but they would be like, okay, thanks so much. I'd be like, we're friends. We've had drinks together. Tell me if I'm getting this. I'm getting married in a week. Right. Yeah, it was so mean. I never do that to someone. But yeah, they called me the Wednesday before I got married, and my mom and my best friends were in the other room having planned my wedding for me because I was a mess. And they were in the other room sitting around the dinner table, and I came back in like ready to be like, I got it, because they had been, you know, waiting with bated breath for 2 months like me. And I came back in, and I was like, and I realized they were having the darkest conversation. My mom was like, you know, when I die, I just want, you know, and then there'd be a pause. I'd be like, my friends would be like, when my grandpa died, I was like, it took a long time where I was able to be like, I have good news. Right. Sorry about your losses.
And then obviously there was I don't know how long did you train, you know, to learn to be able to do the wrestling moves before season 1?
We did like a month of wrestling training beforehand. But I definitely thought it would be like exercise. We all lose 10 pounds, but it was very come as you are. And you know, we're all shapes and sizes and ages in the cast, and it was very like, okay, we're just going to learn the moves. It wasn't, you know, it was sort of like, we're going to use your body as it is to do a functional thing, and whatever works for you. And we did the same for season 2.
So there's that part of the performance, the physical part. But when did you feel like you got Debbie? Like you just totally, you're like, yeah, I know who this person is, or was it in the audition process?
Yeah, in the audition process, I tried to say to myself, okay, if this is the only time you get to be with her, let's go all the way. And I think a benefit of me getting this job now as opposed to when I was 19 and first auditioning was that I realized how much of my time I wasted apologizing for, or like auditioning for the part I already had, or like getting so in my head that like doors to creativity were shutting down, like being like, oh God, well, that part's maybe, I'd have all these ideas in my bedroom, like rehearsing it for whatever job. And then on the day being like, okay, just spend the first 3 takes apologizing for being here, auditioning for the job that you're doing, hoping that the sound guy over there isn't mad at me, because he seems mad at me. I don't know why. So let's make him like me. And I have a weird idea that I was going to, cut. Okay. Oh, we're moving on. There's so many times I had done that. And I would see, people who I thought, maybe weren't as good as of actors, but they were so comfortable that like all the doors were like, there were no steel doors closed. So like, how about this idea? How about this idea? How about this idea? And I was so envious of it. So I'd be like, I have those ideas, but there's a fucking person in my brain being like, no, careful. And I was just like, I don't want to do that with this job. And I think that is a difference of having a female-led set. For me, it just made me be like, I feel more comfortable.
Right. And has that been a part of the process with this show of like really kind of digging in and bringing that up and working it out with a group of people?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different experience. I mean, with Nurse Jackie, it was interesting, it's like being recorded. I don't know what I can say. Season 5, they went from female showrunners to male showrunners. And, while it was a show about women being good at their jobs, it was, they were like in season 5, the male showrunners were like, let's get a slutty doctor who's like having sex all the time in closets, sure, who's bad at her job and who's really dumb. Enter me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and Trojan horse this. I'm gonna try and be like, hi, I'm here. I haven't been eating fruit, so you can see my obliques. I'll wear the high heels. I'll do all the. I just like activated my own reflex. It's terrifying. But I also am gonna sneak in some weird choices in takes 3 and 4. But I always had the sense of like, but I'm here to be boobs and obliques first and foremost, and that feeling was common for me of being like, I know I'm here to be the like, porny birthday cake like in the wide shot, but so I always felt like I had to like sneak in the weirdness. And with Glow, it was like take 1 was my weirdest idea, and then it just built from there. And yeah, season 2 we maybe went too far. It just got so weird.
I mean, there's a broken bone, at the end of it. It's all, loco. How did you not give up when casting people or directors or producers always wanted you to play that? Like, did you just want to scream like, I'm good and I can do so many other things?
Yeah, well, I don't think that's unique. I used to think I was like, I'm the only person who feels this way, but I think that many actors have the feeling that like, okay, I know how you see me, but like there's this like secret scroll inside me that says who I actually am. And like all I want to do is for someone to like reach in there and read it and be like, oh, I didn't know, but this is who you are. And it's painful when that doesn't happen, especially when you don't have, I don't have the kind of personality that's like, I've entered the room and here's who I am. And the weird thing is not having that personality is, I think, why I'm an actor. I'm more of an observer and more of a like questioner. So I don't want to erase that part of myself. But yeah, it was frustrating and continues to be. I mean, yeah.
So you were talking about the month of training that you all did to learn moves and everything.
Yeah.
How did you feel then performing that? I mean, how did that inform even just kind of how you walked and how you felt on set?
I mean, it was a mind fuck. I mean, I'm sorry so much. I realized I'd never thought about my body in a functional way. I sort of believed the entertainment business when it told me, like, you're an actor from here up and from here down, you're buying your ticket in here. And it's for the costume, and it's like sucking it in for the wide shot, being like, please don't fire me, please don't fire me. And then in the close-up being like, okay, whew, that part's over. Now I'm going to be an actor. And, I was like, I've never thought about my knees or my hip or like my core as a thing that is a function that's been, my body's been carrying me through the world for 32 years. And I had always just been like, oh, that's the, hello? That's okay. I was like, I've been being so rude to my body. So having that month of rolling around in our pajamas, like theater school, making the craziest sounds and making the craziest shapes with our body, it bled into filming where it was like, oh, I'm the character from head to toe. I'm not Debbie here and Betty there.
Yeah, and also I imagine it's like you go through so many years of someone projecting his or her, maybe mostly his, image of who and what you are neck down.
Right.
And then there's you and everyone in the show, there's such ownership over head to toe and you in everyone's performance.
Right. Yeah. It's a thing that you really have to protect yourself from as an actor, especially if you're, all actors are this way where they're like, I'm not sure who I am. That's why I play so many people, because I'm a changing person. And I want to explore all walks of life. And so many times in the business, they'll be like, this is who you are and this is all you're good for. Especially as a woman, they'll say, these are the qualities that are good and valuable about you. And they're all the things that are going to expire. I'll look like this for 30 more seconds. And then what? I want to work forever. And if I believed the business when they tell me, you're good for boobs and posing, then, well, shit. Then what about doing Medea in the Berkshires?
Right. You also get to play Liberty Bell, or Debbie gets to play, play Debbie playing Liberty Bell, who is such a delightful nut job to watch, when she's in the ring. Tell me about finding that character.
Yeah. Liberty Bell to me is like my love-hate letter to that person that the business wants girls to be, like the beauty queen or whatever. But, even the beauty queen is insane and crying in her bathroom or whatever. Even the beauty queen is layered and crazy. So
especially,
Yeah, you're right. I watched a lot of 1980s, like, Miss America accepting the crown, and like the crazy in the eyes is so apparent and so amazing and delicious. But yeah, I would say like Blanche Dubois was a big inspiration for me. But yeah, it was the opportunity to, I make a lot of faces when I act, which I guess I've screwed myself for like ever doing Botox. I'll come back for like season 5 and be like, I agree. Be like, before you were all over the place. But yeah, Liberty Bell is the place where I'm like, I'm going to go as big as possible because there's never going to be another job like this where they're letting me do this craziness.
And what about Debbie? I read an interview with you where you talked about just the different women that you feel like inhabit her mind when you're playing her.
Yeah.
Was that something that just kind of happened organically as you were playing her, or?
It's something I think about a lot in terms of like being how I am in the world, and it's like my process as an actor. I think about all the women that live inside my brain and who's at the wheel at what given moment, and I try to think about like as an or a character, what women are in her brain and who's got the wheel, and in what line, and when does it change. And I like playing characters whose brain women change drivers a lot. If that makes any sense. And it's also kind of just an exercise for me to even like distract myself from the boom mic that's happening there, or like, being on set or doing a play where like there's a candy wrapper there's a person like asleep there, or, or on set when you're like doing a scene where you're like, this is really happening. And then you look over and someone's like, just like because he doesn't give a fuck about, acting can feel like, you're trying to coax a ghost into the room who hates candy wrappers, cell phones, boom mics, like, and you have to like lie to that ghost and be like, there's none of those things here. Come on in, please come in. So I do these mind games like what brain woman is driving, or, try and get ghosty so the ghost will come in. Mm-hmm. Am I speaking words?
Yeah, okay. What do you do when Debbie does something, since you clearly have such a love for this character, and understandably, what do you do when Debbie does something that disappoints you? Which there are moments, in especially in season 2, where she says some harsh things to Ruth, or and how do you deal with that?
Yes. For those who haven't seen without spoiling, Debbie behaves when I first read that script, I was like, Debbie's not a feminist. Debbie's anti-feminist, and got really upset. But I think that as an industry, we like to sort of forgive history by being like, oh, the outwardly evil mwahaha characters are the ones who are sexist or racist, and only the evil people were that way. But actually, it's way more ingrained in society than we want to admit or tell stories about. And people who, you thought were nice, I think it's more truthful if we're telling the whole story, where, misogyny, there's a male gaze representative in my brain still. I'm talking about how empowered I am, and I have a slit up to my labia. Being like, hi, welcome to the SAG panel. Like, could have worn jeans, but still, I'm like, stay relevant. So yes, labia. Oh boy. I think that the male gaze representative is very much in Debbie's brain, and Debbie as an actress in 1985 has a way harder time moving past the idea that she's more than smiling boobs. I think it was probably way harder to be like, no, I'm gonna be a producer and age gracefully and create my. So I at first was angry with her, and then I understood. I think it's just her own shame coming out, and her lashing out at Ruth, because Ruth, I think, has. While Debbie maybe has higher self-confidence than Ruth, I think Ruth has higher self-worth than Debbie has. And I don't think Debbie likes that at all. And it makes her lash out at Ruth and, make her want to feel small so that she feels more powerful.
Speaking of Ruth, I think that relationship between Debbie and Ruth is such an intricate and beautiful dance to watch. Yeah. And, did you two have that chemistry? When I think about, I can't even imagine a universe where you wouldn't be playing opposite her and she wouldn't be playing opposite you.
Yeah. I mean, we're very, very close, and that really helps, especially because, I didn't think about it at the time, but we don't really only get that scene in the pilot where we're friends. And then every other scene in the, 19 other episodes we did after that, we can't look at each other. So we're like, oh God, I wish I had really enjoyed that one scene before the shit hit the fan. When I was auditioning, I was filming this show, American Gods, in Toronto, and I kept being like, I have to go to. Yeah, I was like, I have to go back to Toronto. Are you sure you don't need to see me again? They'd seen me like 4 times. I'm like, no. And then I went to Toronto, and they were like, they need to see you one more time. They saw me 3 more times after that. And they're like, they're gonna fly Alison Brie to Toronto to test with you, and my social anxiety manifests that like, if we were to have lunch in New York and it was closer to my neighborhood, I'd be like, it's as if she's being forced to fly to Toronto to meet with me. Like, I would be panicking about that. And Allie really was being, like a movie star, was having to fly to Toronto to come date with me. And I was like, this is my nightmare. But the second we met each other, we wanted each other to get the part so badly. And yeah, she's my sister.
You guys are so great together. I want to read a couple of questions. One is from Jean Marie. How much did you train before doing the wrestling moves? We're in a month. And what kind of workouts or training did you do? Because the stunts look great.
Yeah, I did start to train like more strength training, like more heavy lifting. And, when I was on Nurse Jackie, I would do bar classes, which is like just what I call male gaze car accident classes, where it's just like you're working muscles that have no offense if anyone's a bar instructor, but it's like this and this and this and that's it. It's just like dowry muscles. And I realized, like, I would work out 6 times a week, and then I'd go on a hike and be sucking wind because I hadn't been working out for my heart or my core or anything that actually did anything. So yeah, for Glow, I started really strength training, and Allie Brie is, I don't know if you've ever looked at her Instagram. She can do like 15 pull-ups. It's crazy what she can do. And she sort of introduced me to the world of functional exercise. But I did try and switch off that part of my brain that's like, oh, when you get a part, that means you have to lose 5 pounds, it's not a part of my life anymore, which is exciting. And I hope that stays, when everything falls.
May the show go on for 20 seasons.
I'll die. Wrestling is incredibly painful.
Rodney had a question. When you're acting, you are obviously focused and committed to the role, but after you're done, do you think of the strength of your character, both in the 80s and now, and how it inspires other women? I mean, I have to imagine that well, I guess 2 parts to that question. Does Debbie stay with you after you wrapped? I mean, you weren't picked up. The show wasn't picked up for season 2 until after you had wrapped season 1, which you made in a vacuum. Yeah. It had not been on. There was no expectation of what it would be. Mm-hmm. So I guess part 1 of that is, was she a hard character at the end of filming those 10 to let go? And also, do you think about the impact that she has?
Yeah. I mean, season 1, I was able to sort of tell myself that, having done primarily theater and like episodes of things, you can sort of like fail for free because no one's paying attention because no one knows who you are. So you're kind of like, what? I'll try this. And now, like, when we were shooting Glow, I was like, I hope people don't watch this because that would be terrifying. And so I just sort of pretended it was like a little like feminist Montessori bubble where we were like doing a school play. It being out in the world was really exciting. I don't read reviews and I try to stay off the internet, but I'm way too neurotic for that. But it was a little like, I'd been a stage mom all these years, and now my kid was finally successful, and I was like, no, careful, come back. So it's so exciting to hear that it's positively impacted people in certain ways, but like the second you're like, I'm gonna read all the ways it's positively out, like you read something that's so horribly devastating. So yes. And does Debbie stay with me? Yeah, I think about her all the time, and I'll do weird. It's a weird thing to have a 9-month hiatus of a character. It definitely does. Like Nurse Jackie, we'd feel that all the time. We'd be like, wait, who is this person again? So I'll be like, maybe Debbie's shopping at the bodega. Now I'm Debbie. And I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. Stop. It's not.
Well, I mean, she's such an amazing character, and
Thank you.
You play her so perfectly. I mean, are you already like gearing up for season 3?
I mean, what's so exciting is that like, I hope that we get picked up again. It is cool that with the show within the show, it's always going to be, we're doing 2 shows. It feels like I'm on 2 television shows. So I think it's never going to feel like it gets old, or as an actor, it'll probably get old to you guys, but I could play her forever.
Well, I hope you do, and with like, written into your contract of like massages and stuff for injuries.
Yes, that would be nice.
100%. You're amazing in the show.
Thank you.
Betty Gilpin in Glow is one of the great performances I think that are around right now. Really, like, you blew me away in season 1 and continued in season 2. Absolutely. So congratulations.
Thank you, Jessica.
And I want to thank all of you so much for joining us.